Welcome to Circle of Tone, and today we have the explosion that is Napalm Death. And I remember the exact moment that I first ever heard them. Pretty much like, when you hear that Elvis died or Kennedy get shot. For me, my big thing in life was listening to Napalm Death for the first time. And laughing. With joy, bewilderment, excitement, and I knew I was witnessing something new. So let's get straight to it. Circle of Tone. And we're back. So, this one was so confusing. I did not know what era to cover on this band. This is how confusing Napalm Death are. The first main album that they brought out was two-sided. One side was one band, and there was almost a completely different band on the other side. I think only the drummer made it on the second side from the first lineup. So it's just one of those bands that have so many lineup changes. People actually can't decide on which is their favourite. Often, a lot of people will focus on Scum, but if you really listen to the full catalogue of Napalm Death, it's bloody hard. So let's get straight to it. I don't want to get too long-winded. I've had some complaints about that. So let's get straight to the gear. What did they use? There's lots of interesting, weird stuff that they used. One of the amps that Bill Steer used was a weird H&H combo. I've never seen one of these things before. This is what it looks like. And what the hell is that? So he used that, but in the thing that made me think, oh thank God, is on both sides of Scum and later on with stuff for the children era, Napalm Death, Marshall. I saw them in the background for each of these, even those really early, fresh-faced Napalm Death trio pictures. There was a Marshall in there. So I'm like, oh, thank God. So it's safe to say that the Peel, I know it was on the Peel sessions. So for all you people, see me shifting my weight here? Would you like to know what pedal was used for the bass sound on Scum? Maybe I'll make you wait. I'm not sure. Not sure if I want to tell you. Alright, enough trolling. Frontline Super Distortion. Shitty ass plastic, nasty pedal from the 80s, and that was that bass. And obviously I can't find one of those. I tried to find it. I probably fucked up the price on it now that everybody knows about it, so sorry about that. But if you see one and you're not interested, just show me, because it'll probably sell for 10 quid, and people don't know yet. Only a few people watch my videos. So, Frontline Super Distortion pedal, send it my way. I would love to recreate it properly. What I used on this was, if you listen to it, it's sag. It's nothing but like overblown, bloated, wonderful sag, almost like a battery fading type of effect. When you turn your tube amp off and it fades and it sounds great? That's what it reminded me of. And I have a pedal that recreates that. So I used the Kaolin Crazy Cacti pedal. And if you look at this video that's in the link, I teach you how to use the pedal and the settings to get that sag. So it's an old video of mine. I still like that video. The old days where I shoot things with my phone. Old school. Not that long ago, actually. So yeah. So that is the bass sound. Guitars. What were the guitars? Well, Bill Steer at the time, he used a weird guitar. A Schecter, go way back, believe it or not. They go back in, I think the late 70s. And he had an 80s Schecter guitar with floating trem. It was called the Schecter Strategy. So, yeah, and God knows what pickups are on that thing. I have no information on it. So, if you see a Schecter Strategy, oh, nice. Beautifully in tune. Yeah, so that's what he used. That was the guitars, and on the Peel sessions, he used a Russian Big Muff. So you can assume that it was a Russian Big Muff on the album as well, because they weren't exactly flush for gear. It's a brilliant story from the drummer on the Peel sessions. This is what happens when you have a good record label behind you, or at least they weren't good. They were brand new at the time. But the record label actually sorted practically, they were clueless. They hardly had any gear at the time. They didn't have any songs fleshed out. They were told that, because I think the name was so outrageous and the hype behind them, and John Peel had his finger on the pulse of everything that was going on, that was, crossover, punk and thrash and all the rest of it. So he wanted Napalm Death in, and he basically, he called the drummer, and actually it was the assistant of John Peel called the drummer and said, hey, we want you guys to come in to do a session. For people who don't know, John Peel Sessions was on Radio 1, one of those late night things, and it was an indie type of deal. So he said that we don't have any gear, what are we going to do? And the producer told him, just tell us what you need and we'll have it there. And so they turn up to the BBC studios, and all the gear was there for them, and they're all amazed. They're like, wait, I didn't even set this up, and the record label has set it up behind them. So he'd mentioned it in passing to the record label, the type of stuff they want. The record label went out of their way to get in touch with the BBC, who rented the gear for them, and then all of a sudden, and in my opinion, the Peel sessions, the first one they did, was probably it's a really good sounding recording. And the funny thing is, those sessions were 20 minutes, and you are allowed 4 songs, and Napalm Death went in there and said, oh yeah, we want to do 15 songs. I think it was 15, something stupid like that, 12 or 15 songs. And the producer was like, no, what are you doing? And said, no, don't worry about it, trust us. Yeah, we won't go over 20 minutes, it'll be 15 and a half minutes. So that's it. So Big Muff into a Russian Big Muff into a Marshall with a Schecter guitar and 75s, because I looked at the cabs, is the Napalm Death sound from Scum. And obviously I'll put what I know about the bass gear and everything in the description, but the main thing is that damn pedal, giving it the Super Distortion pedal. It's interesting stuff. So and I love I actually tried to do stuff for the children for this, and I couldn't quite get there. And they actually recorded that in Morrisound Studio. This is in the Barney era, and I did so much digging for that era, and you cannot find anything. And I watched a whole a 25-minute video of them just farting around in the studio, and it was just them in the control room, so I couldn't see anything to do with the amps. And finally in the last 2 minutes, that I see it, the Marshall logo in the live room, and they use the Marshall on that as well. So Marshall, Marshall, Marshall. Why do you think I based my amp on the Marshall? That's what you heard for the bass and the guitars, was my COT 100. It's based on the amp which I hear time and time and time again, you know, on these albums. And I hear on these albums that there is little shortcomings. So then I tweak my amp to be, I obviously can't put out a Marshall. So I tweak my amp to be different, but to sound better, tighter, and also with a send and return, so you can actually put delays in there without sounding like ass. So yeah, brilliant era. I mean, I remember seeing them on a documentary when I was a Beavis. There was a weird documentary about this indie band called Napalm Death, and I was like, that was the band I heard on the Peel sessions. So it all came around, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this band is like a fucking explosion. Good times, a good era. And if you have any questions, just hit me up in the comments. I don't want to make these videos long anymore because I had a few complaints about me waffling on. So that's it. Hope you liked it. You can order a Circular Tone t-shirt. You can order a Circular Tone distortion pedal, which you actually heard on the guitars for this. You know, because I didn't have the Russian Big Muff. Why don't I have a Big Muff in my life? I actually got married because of Big Muff. I was wearing a Big Muff pie t-shirt, which just had Big Muff with a pie symbol underneath it. I was in a bar, and my wife saw my t-shirt, and she called me over and said, "What's your t-shirt all about?" And the rest was history. Anyway, guys, hopefully this will be out on New Year's Day. So have a happy New Year from Circular Tone. You guys have been awesome. The comments recently have been so great. Lots of advice about how my channel will be going, and from this point forward, my videos are going to be a lot better. Trust me, a lot of YouTube wants presentation, and you can't get more presentable than me. So I got to use it. I got to start using this to get my subscribers, because just look at me.